I'm 87 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that might upset you. Everything you think you know about living is completely wrong. Your parents didn't tell you the truth. Your teachers fed you lies. Society built a trap, and you walked right into it, just like I did. I lived 52 years believing the same garbage everyone else believes. Then, at 52, my heart stopped beating in the middle of a client meeting at Morrison and Clark, and everything I thought I knew shattered in that moment. What I discovered in the 35 years since has completely changed how I see what it means to actually be alive. I'm making this because I'm running out of time, and there are things you need to hear before it's too late. Not for me, for you. At 52, I had everything. I mean everything by the standards you're probably chasing right now. Named partner at Morrison and Clark, one of Portland's top law firms. I specialized in mergers and acquisitions, made over $400,000 a year. German luxury sedan with reserved parking. A house in the suburbs worth more than my parents made in their entire lives. Respect from colleagues who both feared and admired me. A calendar so packed I had to schedule time with my own kids 2 weeks in advance. I thought I had it all figured out. I had the title, partner, I had the cases, billion-dollar deals. I had the bank account that made my father, who grew up during the Depression, shake his head in disbelief. I was living the dream. Their dream, not mine. But I didn't know that yet. I was in the conference room at Morrison and Clark, presenting merger terms to a pharmaceutical client. High-stakes deal. $15 million on the table. I remember everything about that moment with crystal clarity. The mahogany table, the smell of leather briefcases, 8 people staring at me, waiting for me to close the deal. I was halfway through the contract review when my left arm went numb. I thought it was nothing. Slept on it wrong. Pinched nerve. I kept talking. Then my chest felt like someone was standing on it. Like an elephant decided to park itself right on my sternum. The room started spinning. I heard my voice getting quieter, like someone was turning down the volume on my life. I collapsed face first onto the mahogany table. The contract scattered everywhere. Doctors called it a cardiac event. That's a fancy way of saying my heart tried to kill me. Massive heart attack. The kind where they use words like critical and lucky to be alive and significant damage. They rushed me to Oregon Health and Science University, emergency surgery, triple bypass, tubes everywhere, machines breathing for me. When I woke up, 3 days later, my wife Linda was sitting in the corner of the ICU crying. Not the gentle tears you cry at weddings, the ugly shaking sobs you cry when you think you're about to become a widow at 49. My son Michael, who was 22, stood at the foot of my bed. He wouldn't look at me, just stared at the heart monitor, watching the green line spike and fall, spike and fall. Later, my daughter Sarah told me he'd said to her in the waiting room, "I don't even really know Dad. He's been working my entire life." That hurt worse than the chest pain. The morning after I stabilized, one of the senior partners sent flowers to the room with a card that said, "Get well soon, Rick. The merger can't wait forever. Client is asking when you'll be back." Lying in that hospital bed, chest cracked open and wired back together, hooked up to machines, I realized something terrifying. I had been living my entire life on autopilot. I wasn't really alive. I was just going through the motions. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. For 52 years. Let me tell you the biggest lie you're probably telling yourself right now. I have time. That's the lie. It's the same lie I told myself every single day for 5 decades. You're telling yourself some version of it right now. I guarantee it. When I make partner, then I'll take that vacation. When I get this promotion, then I'll start working less. When the kids are out of college, then I'll travel. When I pay off the mortgage, then I'll pursue my passion. When I retire, then I'll finally do what I love. When things settle down, then I'll fix my relationship. Let me save you 35 years of regret with one simple truth. That day never comes. You know why? Because the goalposts keep moving. You get the promotion and suddenly you need the next one. You make more money and suddenly you need more money. The mortgage gets paid off and you buy a bigger house. You're always chasing something just out of reach. And before you know it, you're 87 years old, staring at the final stretch, wondering where your entire life went. You're climbing a ladder, working so hard, sweating, exhausted, proud of how high you've climbed. Then one day you get to the top and realize the whole time that ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. And you can't climb back down and start over. Time doesn't work that way. I had a colleague who died 19 years ago at 72. His name was David Chen, corporate lawyer like me, worked 70-hour weeks for 45 years, built his entire identity around the firm, missed his daughter's wedding because of a deposition, never took the trip to China he always talked about, made senior partner, had the respect of the entire legal community. He kept saying he'd slow down after this case, every case, after this one, always after this one. He had a stroke at his desk on a Wednesday afternoon, dead before the paramedics arrived, 72 years old. At his funeral, his daughter said, "My father was a brilliant attorney, but I barely knew him. He was always after this case." Is that the legacy you want? Your regrets won't be about the things you did wrong. They'll be about the things you didn't do at all. My father died when I was 45. Heart attack. He was 71. Same thing that almost killed me 7 years later. We had a complicated relationship. He was a successful businessman, emotionally distant. I became him without even realizing it. I was always too busy with cases to really connect with him. I kept thinking we'd have time when this trial finished. When I made partner, when things calmed down, we never got that chance. He died on a Saturday morning. I was at the office, preparing for a Monday deposition. My mother called, voice shaking. By the time I got to the hospital, he was gone. He's been dead for 42 years now. I've lived 16 years longer than he ever did. All the Sundays I didn't visit because I was preparing for trial. All the times I sent his calls to voicemail because I was with a client. All the moments I let slip away. There won't always be more. I don't lie awake at night thinking about the cases I lost or the partnerships I turned down. Those don't matter. They're dust. You know what keeps me up at night? The trip to Italy I never took with Linda because I was too busy with the merger. The relationship with my daughter Sarah that was strained for 15 years because I missed her teenage years working. The novel I always wanted to write but never started because I didn't have time. The conversations with my father I avoided because I had briefs to file. These things eat at you. The missed opportunities, the roads not taken, the love you didn't express, the risks you didn't take because you were afraid, because you were being responsible, because you do it later. After my heart attack, I made big changes, not immediately. First, I spent 6 months recovering, learning to walk again, learning to breathe without pain. The first 3 months I spent in denial, the next 3 in deep reflection. But once I could think clearly, once the fog lifted, I knew I couldn't go back to that life. I started reducing my hours at 53. The other partners thought I was insane, throwing away my career. By 54, I'd completely shifted my mindset. I finally retired from Morrison & Clark at 67. I've been retired for 20 years now, longer than many people get to live in retirement. I started traveling with Linda, real traveling, not the quick business trips to New York and San Francisco. We went to Italy, we went to the coast, we went to places we'd talked about for 30 years but never had time for. I rebuilt my relationship with my kids. It took years. Sarah didn't trust it at first, thought it was temporary, that I'd go back to being the absent father. But I showed up every week, called her every Sunday, flew to Seattle for my grandchildren's birthdays instead of sending checks, met Emma, Josh, and Lily when they were born instead of months later when work allowed. In these last 35 years, I've learned more about life than I did in the previous 52 years. What matters is embarrassingly simple. Time with people you love, work that feels meaningful to you, not to your boss, not to society, to you, experiencing things, not owning things, creating memories, being present in the moment you're actually in instead of the one you're planning for. I know it sounds simple. When I was your age, I would have rolled my eyes. Sure, old man, but I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. I can't just quit and travel. And yes, you do. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow. I'm not saying abandon responsibility. I'm not saying money doesn't matter. I'm saying don't sacrifice what matters for what doesn't. There's a difference between working to live and living to work, between providing for your family and never seeing them, between building a future and missing the present. You can have financial security without selling your entire life to a corporation that will replace you 3 weeks after you die. You can be ambitious without missing your kid's childhood. You can be successful without destroying your health, but you have to choose it, intentionally, every single day. If you died tomorrow, And you might, I almost did at 52, what would your biggest regret be? Not the promotion you didn't get, not the car you didn't buy. It would be the people you didn't prioritize, the experiences you postponed, the love you didn't express, the life you didn't live because you were too busy preparing to live. Stop preparing, start living. Here's what I want you to do. Not next week, not after this busy season, today. Call someone you love, not a text, an actual call. Tell them you love them. Tell them they matter. Don't wait. Don't assume they know. Say it. Look at your calendar. Find one thing, just one, that doesn't matter. Cancel it. Use that time for something that does matter. A walk, a conversation, sitting in silence. Anything but another meeting that could have been an email. Think about something you've been putting off. That trip, that hobby, that conversation, that risk. Schedule it. Put it on the calendar. Make it real. Start saying no to things that steal your life and yes to things that give you life. Stop chasing achievements and start creating memories. Stop accumulating stuff and start accumulating moments. Stop working for a future that might never come and start living in the present that's happening right now. I'm 87 years old. If I'm lucky, maybe 5 more years. Maybe 10 if I'm blessed, probably less. My father died at 71. I've outlived him by 16 years. Every day now is borrowed time, and I'm okay with that, because these last 35 years have been the richest of my life. Not because I made more money. I went from $400,000 a year to $72,000. Not because I achieved more, because I finally started living intentionally, appreciating every single day, prioritizing what actually matters. I traveled to Italy with Linda like we'd always dreamed, deepened my relationship with Sarah and Michael, got to know all 5 of my grandchildren. I've held my great-grandchildren, Ava and Lucas, started writing. Most importantly, I had 28 beautiful years with Linda after my transformation, years where we were truly connected. Linda died 7 years ago, pancreatic cancer. She was 78. Losing her was the hardest thing I've ever experienced, but I'm grateful I changed at 52, that we had those 28 years of actually being together, not just existing in the same house. I still miss her every day. I wear my wedding ring. I talk to her photo every morning. Here's the paradox. I'm happier now, at 87, widowed, using a cane with maybe 5 years ahead, than I was at 52 when I thought I had decades left. That's the irony. When you understand time is limited, you stop wasting it. You stop postponing joy. You stop making excuses. You say no to what doesn't matter. You say yes to what does. You tell people you love them while they can still hear it. You have a choice, right now, today. Keep living the way you're living. Chasing success, chasing money, chasing achievement, putting off happiness, putting off love, putting off life. Telling yourself you'll make time later. Believing the lie that you have time. Or wake up, right now, this second. Realize that time is running out faster than you think, and the life you're waiting to live needs to start now. Not someday, now. I can't make this choice for you. Nobody can. But I can tell you this. You don't want to be 87 years old, looking back at a life half lived, wishing you had made different choices, wishing you had loved harder, risked more, worked less, lived more. Don't waste 52 years figuring this out like I did. Learn from my mistakes, learn from my heart attack, learn from my regrets. Live intentionally. Prioritize what matters. Stop waiting for someday. Someday is today. It always has been. If this resonates with you, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment telling me what you're going to do differently. I read every single one. Subscribe, because I have more truths to share and not much time left to share them. The clock is ticking for all of us. What are you going to do with your time?